Welcome to this video about the Five of Pentacles. It is part of a challenge I'm doing, going through all 78 cards of the tarot. It is put together or was created by Modern Tarot. I linked her in the description below. Feel free to check her out. So this is the Five of Pentacles. Give you a quick overview. I'll give you a quick definition, my take on the card. Going to zero in on a detail, and then I'll talk a little bit about how I use this card to inspire my fiction writing. So the card itself is the card of material hardship and also possibly illness. So it's kind of, not one of the cards you look forward to seeing in a tarot spread or in a tarot reading. But there's also a message of hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel depicted in the stained glass window of the church. Plus, there's hope in the fact that we have these two characters here in the image, and they are still standing. They are still moving forward. Yes, they're going through a hard time, but they're not beaten. They're not done yet. And hopefully, they are just a few short steps away from the door to this building that offers respite from the cold, respite from the snow, and hopefully a helping hand that will help them get out of the situation that they find themselves in. This card also always reminds me a little bit of depression. You know, if this is something you've experienced, I'm sorry, I have as well. It is very hard to drag yourself out of that. You know, this feeling of cold and hopelessness. And it takes a lot of strength and effort, and sometimes it feels like you're not really making progress even when you are. So that is kind of my take on this card. I think the important message is that we're still standing, we're still moving forward, we're still making progress, and this will not last. The detail that kind of caught my attention this morning is the little bell around the neck of the man on crutches here. And it is kind of, to me, it is a symbol of asking for help. You know, this isn't something that I'm particularly good at, but I think it is important when we find ourselves in a situation of material, financial hardship, in a time when we're not feeling our best, when we're maybe sick, suffering from illness, that it is okay and it is important to ask for help. And, you know, sometimes it doesn't have to be in words. It can be a symbol. It can be an act. It can be a little bell around your neck that makes others aware that you could use an extra hand. So that's kind of the general tarot portion of this video, but what I want this channel really to be about, and what I want the focus of this is to be, is how the tarot cards and the symbols and messages that these cards convey, how they can help us in our fiction writing. So what this card speaks to me of is the dark moment. Every romance and most other good stories have a moment in them, usually toward the end of the story, where all hope is lost. You think there's no way these characters can get themselves out of the hole that they have dug themselves and find their happily ever after. And what's important is that we need bad things to happen to our characters, because without it, we don't really have a story. Hardship and conflict are what drive the story. It's what creates tension and makes it interesting. And it's also what gives these characters a chance to change and grow. Honestly, it is why we end most stories, at least most romances, at the end they lived happily ever after. There's no point in continuing to write the story because the interesting part is over. This card also speaks to me of emotional wounds. You know, we can see the physical wounds on these characters, particularly, again, the man with the crutches. So whenever this card shows up in a character spread that I often create for the people that inhabit my stories, this is usually an indication for me to dig a little deeper and ask myself, what is this person's emotional wound? What has happened in the past to them that makes them the person they are? What keeps them from finding love at this particular moment? What do they need to heal and overcome before they can be ready to accept love and happiness in their life? And then what can prompt that change? You know, there is some sort of impetus that causes us to re-examine who we are, what our circumstances are. What could prompt that change for this particular character based on the emotional wound that I've developed? And then kind of on a small scale, when I'm just pulling cards to add a little bit more interest to a particular scene or a particular character chapter that I'm working on, you know, not the big picture, but the small little details that kind of make a story richer in my mind. It could be some thinking about, you know, what kind of medical condition or what kind of small injury could happen to this character in this particular moment to drive the story and make it a little bit more interesting. So it could be something as simple as one of them twists their ankle and needs the help and support from the other one, and that brings them closer in this particular moment. Or maybe it is something that pulls them apart, that, you know, they were getting along swimmingly, falling in love, but all of a sudden one of them becomes sick, or their allergies act up at the worst possible moment. Maybe they find themselves allergic to the beloved pet of their significant other, of their love interest in the story. I had a really fun scene playing with the idea of allergies where a character was allergic to her cat. So he took some Benadryl and ended up falling asleep in the middle of the date that they had at her house. You know, that kind of thing. Just having fun is maybe not the right word. Well, in that particular case, it was fun kind of to play with that situation, but to add another level, to add some more interest in playing with the ideas of what kind of emotional or physical wounds, illnesses, and hardships could befall my characters. So that is my take on the Five of Wands. I hope you found it interesting. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. If you're enjoying this topic, please subscribe to the channel. I look forward to going through the remaining cards of the tarot deck in this series. And let me know what else you would like to know about how I use tarot cards in my fiction writing. I look forward to hearing from you. Please always feel free to leave a comment, and I'll be back tomorrow with the Six of Pentacles. I'll see you then.